I'm from Drees and Sommer. What do we have to do with Madaster, and why do we support Madaster? Why did we get together? And this is especially because we believe in network. We believe in the concept of collaboration. And what we did in the last couple of years was already like planning circularity projects, cradle-to-cradle projects, thinking about and doing building material passports. But with a platform like Madaster, this is a totally different scale we can reach. Because the thing is, like, people get together. New business models can be created and everybody can be part of it. And therefore, I personally, being member here of the management board in Austria, I personally wish to establish Madaster Austria.
Okay, so if I got you both right, or you three colleagues right.
Hello,
here
Patrick.
is Patrick too. Nadja, you are situated more in a very first phases of a life cycle chain of a building or of our built environment. This is something for me it's very important to say, because I learned from Markus so many things, because he is an expert in resource management and in waste management, which is which takes part more nowadays, when now we are in a linear society, unfortunately, at the very end of the life cycle of our built environment. And this is the reason why I really would like to ask you both. We really have to link the end of the life cycle when Markus does social mining with his colleagues and he harvests secondary materials and products. So how can we collaborate with your ideas to link the end of the life cycle with the very beginning?
To say that, as a waste manager, I come from Pulswerk and I am related in the resource department. But within our organization, we have a strong department that is absolutely dedicated to the issues of new buildings, because we deal with certification schemes. We run the total quality management building system. And within these qualification schemes and within the criteria sets of these schemes, it is nowadays absolutely important to integrate this new topic, to integrate things like, okay, how can we attract building and building owners and project developers to reuse materials and to reuse products? And this must go far beyond a quota for secondary raw materials. Unfortunately, it is by nowadays always linked, it's one quota for reuse and recycling. Already, although we all know already, Anna-Vera, I see you because this discussion we had many times, that reuse is in the sense of waste management a total different thing to recycling. But in the German language, we mix up the terms Wiederverwendung and Verwertung because it's just two letters.
Yeah, and this hurts so much. You're right.
So, Markus, I have a clear vision how we could work together. Since we actually already start in the beginning, as you said, Anna-Vera, we believe that a good circularity project, well, has to be planned. And the basis for planning is what I actually learned from Pablo and from Patrick. This is recognize the value of material. Because what happens normally when we construct houses, yeah? We buy some material, we take it, we put it into the building, and, well, we connect it to some other materials, and at the end of the life cycle, it's waste. So all of a sudden, this value changes. And, well, of course, we created value because we created a building which can be used. We can live in it, we can work in it, we can rent it, make some money out of it. But now imagine, we take this material and through planning and through knowing where we put it, how we put it, yeah, thinking about how can we possibly leave this material as pure as we got it. So at the end of the life cycle, when you come in action, well, you do it, but we have to think it much more before, is like, take the material out and make some money out of it. Because again, for this I need Madaster. Because I put my building with all the data I have in my BIM model, so building information modeling, I put it on Madaster. And I want to know from you guys, how much is it worth? Just the material on top of the value of the building.
Yeah, I understand. So we are not consuming materials anymore. We are using them as an investment. But for me, there is another level of value in harvesting materials. And this is what I said before, which is solidarity-based approach here in Vienna. Of course, making money out of it, this is our world. We really need to do it. But we have, or you had the absolutely great idea to add some more value to this social urban mining idea. So there is another part of value creating good jobs, and maybe you would like to tell us a little bit more about this idea.
I think I pointed out the baseline, and I don't want to get too much into detail because I could talk hours for that. Let's stick to that paradigm. We check the values of the building, not only the material values, but also the values of reusable products that we identify at the moment as reusable. And this matter of fact reusability, it's always two aspects. The one is the technical functioner. Is it still here? Is it on time? You know, are there any legal restrictions to reuse it again? And there are several, you can imagine. And but the second thing is there someone that wants to buy that? Is there a market for this thing? Just because a window is okay, that doesn't say anything about the reusability of the window. We have to come up, okay, who wants to reuse that window again? And then we keep the value, and I can link to you. That's a perfect idea. In the circular economy sector, we know the value hill model. That's the value hill model. We try to keep the value as high as possible, because when the value is high, many businesses are interested to deal with that. And there was just a publication a few years ago about the Swedish recycling community, about the Swedish recycling sector, and they found out that it's for plastics and for steel. They estimated the value that goes into the sector in the name of products that are at the end of the life. And then they estimated the value of the secondary materials that are produced through the reuse sector, through waste treatment. And this was 25% and this was 100%. So value hill, we have already lost 3/4. And this is what we avoid with reuse, because when we sell a table as a reuse table, you can imagine you can have a higher price. And therefore, I think, and this is one thing that I'm not sure if we can add it to BIM, it's not just the quality or not just the mass of the materials, it's also, you already addressed it, how is it linked to each other? How is it constructed? Can you deconstruct it? Can you unscrew, or is it, glued? It's a huge difference. And I have no idea how to get that information into a BIM or into a material flow analysis. For me, the information that I have in a quarter of Vienna, 7,000 tons of copper is not enough. This is not enough information to create circular economy. We have to go beyond that.
Yeah, we need it in a little bit more detailed way. We need to know where are the materials which we can use in which way of level of quality when. So I think this is the only way how we can make this business model work. Maybe we could talk a little bit about this local level, because we want to use our local anthropogenic stock. But of course, we need to expand the idea throughout Europe to achieve this resource conservation on this continent. So, this sounds a little bit of a paradox. We want to use locally, but what do you think both when comes to this higher level?
Sorry, Anna-Vera, but let me just give a short answer to what Markus said, because I was like already waiting for my part. Because Markus, this is exactly what we already do, like in the BIM model. But I have to add that we developed special circular engineers. This is a new type of people working at our office, at our company, because we come from the engineering part, and then a couple of years ago we started to work with EPIA, like from Michael Braungart, and they come from the chemical way and from the process way, and so uniting these abilities and capacities also of knowledge led to our circular engineering idea. And this means that when we start planning with building information modeling, that we do put exactly the information of the materials or of the elements together. What's about separate it? It's too difficult, this word, yeah? Can you separate it? Can you reuse it later? So it is already possible, and therefore we have to link to each other to think about the whole process until the end.
Yeah, so this is one European level too. So to learn from each other, and I think this circular engineering approach, it is very appealing. Maybe this is something too we have to consider and exchange our knowledge. Globally, I think so, just to act in this local way.
Should we maybe give Pablo the chance, because actually he's the most experienced in this international business, especially with Madaster, and I'm pretty sure you have many ideas how to answer also this question.
Yeah, and before answering the question, my colleague Patrick Bergmann is there, because Patrick is doing something beautiful from his basis Berlin, where he is running Madaster Germany, because it was a bit new for us when we started in the Netherlands, and first we tried something in Switzerland, and slowly but surely we are starting up in Switzerland too, and then we made the big step to the big country Germany, and Patrick did that together with me. And what we see is that together with the local ecosystem, we see that companies from the Netherlands that are also active in Germany see that there is a big benefit into working together in, for instance, giving insights to regulators. What does it mean if you have an international investment organization, either it be Swiss Re or ING Bank or a Commerz Real? What does it mean, or a developer like Edge Technologies? What does it mean if they have an international portfolio but have to deal with local regulators, with local standards, local Bauherren, so to say? And that is the experience that we can bring to the table, which is also rather new, because up to now the construction industry is always very locally oriented, which is fantastic, and we should keep it that way for a large extent, because we do not want to move products around the whole world, because that takes a lot of energy. But we need to think smart, so act locally and think globally. And that's. But Patrick, maybe you can share a little bit as well on how do we work together on an international scale.
Yes, thanks, Pablo. I think the communication between us is very important, but also we noticed that a lot of NGOs, universities we are talking to in Germany are looking what are the Dutch universities, NGOs doing, what is the government doing, sometimes a bit ahead of the German one or the Austrian, I don't know exactly. So it's also good to learn from each other what the mistakes you did, but also what success factors do you have or identified. And I think also with the European level, the Green Deal, there's a must in work on European standards that we see also now. There's one movement on the European level to find circular construction norms and standards that this is all more or less on the same level. So people also know in the Netherlands what the Germans are talking, or the Germans know what the Austrians are talking, and you can compare it. I think that's really important.
Thank you. Thank you, Pablo and Patrick. Thank you, Markus and Nadja. Maybe you both have one take-home message for us you would like to state, because I think we're coming to an end of our session now.
Ladies first?
Ladies first?
Ladies
first. I actually have 3.
3? Okay. One for you, Pablo and Patrick.
Well, I don't know. We didn't really talk about that. I just start. First of all is enable networks. Be part of a network, collaborate with different people. The second one is motivate. Motivate in the sense of don't just regulate, but give opportunities which tickle the fantasy of the different market players. Because, you know, if you want to make less bad things, it's limited. But if you want to do more good things, it's endless. And the third is, of course, start doing. Doing, learning, sharing, and profiting out of it.
Okay, thank you. And Markus?
Take-home message. My take-home message is, if you are a building owner and if you think on deconstruct your building, don't think this is waste. Legally, it might happen, but the question of if it's legal waste or not is a question that we discuss in our community after some conferences with high passion. But in reality, it has some consequences, but you can face both sides, so it doesn't matter if it's waste or not. That's one thing. The second thing is start thinking about, we have to come into the normal procedures in the normal job description of project developers, that they have to start asking these questions. I don't say that it's the solution and the answer is always yes, we do something, but you have to ask the question first. If you don't ask the question, you will never get the right answer. And if you start doing that, then we will come up into the broader sector. And it's not just then personal behavior that it might be interesting or not. And at the moment, you can gain a lot of public attention if you start doing those things. And it's not just the private sector, it's also the public sector, because in my understanding, for example, Vienna is an European-wide best practice example for more than 100 years related to the construction of buildings and the housing sector. And many, many towns in Germany, they look how we did it, and we tell them, see, we have a different history. And this gives us now other chances to take the next steps, because we own the buildings. We. As a Viennese, I may say we. It's also my house. So, and absolutely. I wish that we start to do these things right, to show that the municipality can change and can incorporate these circular economy approaches. And I'm sure we come up with examples. We have already.
We do, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Patrick, Pablo, maybe you have one take-home message for us too?
Well, I can just support Nadja and say, start, act, do something. I think the time for waiting and planning is gone. So just start with implementing these great ideas.
Yeah, and I really love to work with Nadja, and you all already could hear why, because she's very direct and clear, and she connected us to the Stad Wien, and I really look forward to start doing with the Do Tank together with you, Anna-Vera, and also with you, Markus. Let's make this happen in the circular ecosystem of Austria. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for this motivation, and I can assure you we are doing. Now in this very first phase of this Do Tank Circular City Wien 2020 to 2030, we believe in making many small steps all around the life cycle of our built environment, because I think when we are doing many small steps, we will push the border further, much more further than if we would wait just for the one big step in the end. So thank you all for contributing to this very interesting discussion. I've learned many things again. So I think we know what we have to do. and we will work on and run as fast as we can.